Similar in a lot of ways actually to our own defense in some ways from a structural standpoint. They're based out of a three-down front, what we call an Okie front, ton of movement, just they rarely line up in a four-down front, and they like to hunker their safeties down into the box to stop the run, typically always trying to get an extra hat in the box, whether you're in 11 personnel, they want 7 in the box. If you're in 12, they want 8 and sometimes 9. So it's definitely a challenge from a run game standpoint that you're typically going to have somebody free. And there's not a ton you can do about that in terms of when you do just hand the ball off. Our running backs need to understand at times who the free hitter is and try to make that guy miss, run through him. We're going to have to have some dirty yards this week within the run game, but it does present maybe some opportunities to throw the football. But they're playing their tails off. I mean, I think that they are playing fast. They're athletic at all positions, and I think they're playing with a ton of confidence right now. Yeah, today. Today, for the most part, at practice, and it wasn't anything like negative or anything like that towards those guys. It was more just our level of practice and the way we practiced today, the energy, enthusiasm that we had today at practice was hands down the best we've had all year. And maybe some of that also comes with being able to play about 50 or so snaps with our first unit. So those guys were probably a little bit more fresh today, coming off of a game where, going off Tennessee where we were at 99 snaps and guys are a little bit nicked up. And then Vandy, we didn't do what we were supposed to do, so we had to play more snaps in the second half. But you just felt the energy, the juice. There was no negative anything like that about Louisville or anything like those, those comments or anything came up. You just felt the change, and it reminded me similar to in 2018 when I was with the Rams and we finished the regular season and we're going to play the Cowboys in first playoff game of the year, and you just felt the level of play, the level of focus, and the level of practice just totally different. And that's when I realized, playoff football is a lot different, and so is rivalry football.
John Hale?
Yeah, Will's personality seems to really lend itself to these kind of high-intensity rivalry-type atmospheres. How much do you have to be on him this week to walk that line between being who he is but not getting, overly amped up?
Yes, definitely have to. I mean, I will say he probably had his best practice of the season today, hands down, not even close. The way he threw the football, just the level of execution, detail. I would have thought I would have seen probably a little bit more of a amped up guy, maybe missed some throws early today in practice, and that wasn't the case. I'm sure as we get closer and closer to game time, that's something that we may need to address, specifically maybe as an offense, as a team, or whatever it may be, but specifically for Will. It will be extremely important that he continues to play the position as he has, improving over the last few weeks and staying on that consistent trend of his footwork, playing the position. The accuracy that he showed on Saturday was extremely important for us to be successful in the pass game, and it'll be much needed on Saturday. These corners do a nice job of playing with tight cushions. They like to jump routes. And, we need to be on the screws, but I think that'll be an important conversation as we move later in the week for sure.
Josh Moore?
The O-line named semifinalists again for the Joe Moore Award. That's not new for them, but I know they've been asked to do a lot of different stuff this year compared to the last few seasons. What just as a group, as a whole, how have you seen them grow, and what do you think they can bring to the table as far as creating an advantage this week? I know that they've been a pretty significant unit the last couple times in this series.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's one of those things that we do ask a lot of them. we ask a ton out of our front five, and really all the guys that play up front, from a schematic standpoint, conceptually, identification. There's a lot on their plates, but they take that with pride, because I think of the legacy that Coach Schlarman and Drake Jackson and Landon Young and all those guys started here. They want that pressure. They want the run game, the protections to be on their shoulders. They take extreme pride in it, and this will be a huge week for us to try to assert some physicality and be the SEC football team that we're supposed to be, and we know who we are in terms of our physicality and trying to run the football and be physical at the point of attack and finish. That's going to be the hardest thing for us this week. Not hardest, but the biggest point of emphasis for us will be finishing and sustaining blocks, specifically with the amount of movement that they create up front. It's not going to be so much identifying as it will being able to work through some of that movement that they do and shut it down. We need to shut down some of their movement to create some more space inside for the running backs, but they're so easy to deal with. I can jump them, on game day I can get after them, ask them a question, and they always have the answer in terms of they can communicate what they're seeing on the field. I can ask them what schemes are working and what they feel as though we may need to go to more so throughout the game. And there's things that they can see that I can't, or we can't as coaches from the sideline. So the dialogue and communication has been unbelievable with those guys, and it's absolutely a huge week for them to play their tails off. It's extremely difficult to do in practice, I will say, because you're going against a scout team for the most part of the day, and our scout team works their tail off. They do a great job, but it's not even close to the same type of players you're going to play against on Saturday, and that's just the reality, and I'm sure that's kind of across the board, maybe around the country. So being able to, at that position, have to be able to turn it on Saturday, because you're not going to truly get the game reps on Monday through Friday from a physical standpoint. I believe helping, not playing as many snaps as we did last week, they definitely seem fresher today from a physical standpoint, and I just felt a different vibe from these guys today. In terms, we had guys running into the end zone 60 yards down the field, blocking for running backs and wideouts, and we hadn't really had that happen too often in practice. We don't ask them to do that. So you just felt the energy amplified, and I've just gotten a sense that these guys are going to be ready to play.
Adam?
Hey, Liam. 3 weeks in a row, it seems like Will's played pretty well. First year being a starting quarterback, do you see it as kind of like the light bulbs kicking in, it's all starting to click for him? Or is it still, day by day, just little by little, little by little?
He's definitely improved over the last few weeks, and I thought he had improved, and that's where it's hard to really go back to the Mississippi State as the outlier game if you think about over the last, 6 weeks or 5 or 6 weeks. You go back to LSU, Georgia, we go on the bye, we lay an egg at Mississippi State, but he isn't the only one that laid an egg. And then you come back, has an unbelievable performance against Tennessee, does what he's supposed to do against Vandy, and plays really well last week. So you do feel good about the trajectory, but he'll be the first one to tell you that he's not looking at that way. He looks at it from a confidence standpoint, I think, but he definitely does not believe he has all the answers. He does not believe that it's all set and everything's all good. He knows the improvement on a day-to-day basis needs to continue to happen for us to win this football game and to continue to win games beyond this. But you've seen over the last few weeks, more so specifically in practice, the consistency. The consistency of what you're looking for. And I do believe that he's he's preparing himself to take his game to the next level.
Yes, Spencer?
Liam, in these kind of games, turnovers are always such a big thing, and that's obviously been a problem for you guys offensively. How much of that do you harp on this week, or is it like, hey, look, there's just one game left to go, just kind of lay it on the line?
Yeah, there's not much we can say at this point about it. I mean, the pick was kind of a poor play call by me. I was being a little bit greedy on the interception going in. I was trying to maybe put a little bit of a dagger in him a little too early, and Chauncey could have maybe made a play on the ball to at least prevent the interception from happening. And then Chris puts the ball on the ground, and the bot snap early in the game was kind of a little bit of a miscommunication, fluke thing. So some of those things are part of the game, but at this point in the season, there's not a ton more ball security drills we can do to harp this thing. Our best players need to make plays, and they need to take care of the football in order for win this game. We cannot give them any more possessions on that side of the ball.
Now let's do last question with Jeff Sherman.
Yeah, Liam, on that Louisville defense, when you watch the film, is there kind of a guy that stands out as the one that makes things happen for them, or you have to give special attention to?
I think the Abdullah kid, number 22, is a really good football player. Number 9, their starting linebacker, is a really good player. They've got a couple transfers in the back end. And they lost their corner, number 13, to a knee, who I thought was a very good football player. I mean, one of the better corners that we maybe have gone up against in the over the course of the season. He's not playing right now, but they've got a freshman who's playing right now at the corner position, who's a 5'10", 155-pound kid who plays his tail off. He does not play light like that. He plays strong. He's a talented kid, and it's actually been fun to watch him play. He's scrappy, does some really good things. Their boundary safety, number 27, is a physical kid. He's about 6'3", 225 pounds, plays hard. He's a box safety, does some really good things. And then I think the Sam linebacker, Fago from Lexington here, has also done a really nice job for them. He's made some plays, done some good things. They're active up front. So there's a few guys up front and in their defense that have absolutely shined, but it looks like they're just playing collectively pretty fast. They run to the football. They play fast. They're not the biggest structurally in terms of who they are up front, but that's why you play an odd defense, so you can get your smaller, lighter guys, athletic, moving around all over the place to create some issues for us up front, and that's always the case anytime you play a 3-4 defense. Any offensive coordinator in the country would prefer to probably see a 4-down base defense just because of the simplicity factor.